building a highway near where plutonium was found. What could go wrong? There's a recall against the state Senate president. He tells me he's more worried about what that means for your school board. More communities may adopt the Vision Zero Traffic Safety Plan. You know, the plan that Denver has, as deaths on that city's streets rise. And on this sweltering day in the city, why again are the pools closed? Let's get some answers next. Hey, good to see you again. Been a little while. All right, so here's the deal. Broncos game does not kick off for another 20 minutes. It's over on Channel 20. If I promise to tell you before the kickoff so you can switch over and you won't miss anything, you want to hang out till then? All right, let's get started. First things first, some solid answers about the plutonium that was found on the west side of town. Those test results found out by near the old Rocky Flats nuclear weapons plant, which closed down in 1989. There was that brief note Friday about how elevated plutonium levels were found there by a group that wants to build a highway, a toll road connecting C-470 to Northwest Parkway. Our Marshall Zellinger set out today to figure out just how worried we should be.
Out where the windblown grass meets the windblown turbines, a toll road is going to be built, the Jefferson Beltway. And the people behind the toll road just found something weird.
This is a simple radiation detector. It detects alpha radiation, which is the type of radiation given off by plutonium.
Dr. Mark Jensen is the chair of nuclear science and engineering at the School of Mines. He's not part of the future highway. He just knows a thing or two about what was found near the future highway, plutonium.
To find a hot particle like this is not a surprise to me.
These dots represent the soil samples taken by the Jefferson Parkway Authority.
The blue dots just show the remaining samples that were collected but have not yet been analyzed.
250 samples have been taken. One of them analyzed so far just came back with an elevated plutonium level greater than 50 picocuries per gram.
Did you know what a picocurie was?
Nope. It's a unit that measures radioactive decay. 50 picocuries represents 100 plutonium atoms that have disintegrated over the course of 1 minute.
The sample was taken near Indiana Street between 96th and 120th, right near Rocky Flats, where the triggers for nuclear weapons were manufactured from the 50s until 1989. The samples tested ahead of building a toll road did not have to be done. The Parkway Authority did so voluntarily.
I think knowing the truth is always the better thing.
The highway, which might one day connect the Northwest Parkway to C-470 and complete a circle around the metro area, is on track to start construction next year. Then again, that was before the elevated plutonium sample, which all we know so far is greater than 50 picocuries per gram.
5 billion is more than 50, right? And 51 is more than 50. There's just not enough information for me to understand how concerned to be about it.
Plutonium or not, it's pretty out there. I was told by the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment that the community in that area is about to be notified of what the actual level was. Is it 51 or 5 million? How much above 50? And we should soon know as well. We can pass that along to you. Look, a few things I learned today, Kyle. We have plutonium inside of us. That test that I didn't get to show that Dr. Jensen was doing, he tested the air into a washcloth while we did the interview. When we went back after the interview, he detected twice as much in the air as the sample might show from the plutonium. So it's naturally occurring anyway. So if it's a low number around 50, pump the brakes on what to be worried about.
I think people have trouble picturing picocuries.
I picture that little, like a pica, like at the top. No, it's picture in the basement when you have radon concerns.
Yeah.
If you have 4 picocuries per liter, which is really 4 picocuries per gram, that's when you would have to do something in your basement. So if you're familiar with that, you're kind of familiar with this.
Think about it like radon. Yeah, it's something for people to keep an eye on, but not necessarily to freak out about until the levels hit that point. All right. Thank you, Marshall. Colorado Republicans' current strategy is if you can't beat them, recall them. As of today, Democratic Senate President Leroy Garcia of Pueblo is now on that list facing an official recall. Signature gathering can begin as of now. Republicans want to use recall elections in off years with low turnout in order to give them some seats that they have not been able to win lately through regular elections. You can agree or disagree with that strategy, but trying to recall elected officials en masse over policy differences, that would really reshape our politics. I asked Senate President Garcia about that when I got him on the phone about an hour ago.
This is about not only the statewide official officers, but also what this looks for school boards and city councils and county commissioner races, where the thresholds in some of these is even lower. So I just think we are getting into some dangerous waters in which people are trying to circumvent and change the process that has otherwise been established through the electoral process.
So to this recall petition, the reasons why they're going after Senate President Garcia. The recall mentions his support for oil and gas regulations, as well as the cost of some lawsuit settlements he's been involved in. We've told you about the $25,000 settlement to a citizen who was blocked on Garcia's Facebook page because he criticized the Senate president. Right now, Garcia is making the familiar argument that voters should reject a recall because it's going to cost them extra money for a new election. I asked him how he squares that with making taxpayers cover the $25,000 settlement for his misuse of social media.
Look, there are some lessons to be learned this year on behalf of the General Assembly in regards to social media and other areas. And you know I'm not alone in that. I mean, President Donald Trump has been sued. That's something we have to do around social media. It's a newer area, and this, again, has not just been limited to legislators being involved in this, county commissioners and city council members, where we're all kind of trying to learn how to operate within that process.
Fair enough. We told you about a whole raft of lawsuits against elected officials who block members of the public from social media. So remember, the last round of Republican recalls was in 2013, and it took out the previous holder of Garcia's own seat, Senator Angela Giron of Pueblo, and it also took out former Senate President John Morse. So I asked Senate President Garcia from Pueblo what he learned from the recalls of 2013. He brushed that off and said this is a very different time. Recall organizers now have till mid-March to turn in about 13,000 valid signatures. We've discussed increasing traffic deaths in Denver. Less talked about is that it is also happening across the metro area. Latest cyclist killed was a 77-year-old. Troopers say was hit northwest of Arvada, hit by a driver who couldn't be bothered to stop. Our Steve Steger found the whole metro area is joining Denver in chasing a traffic safety goal. You can decide for yourself if it's realistic and if it's working.
Scenes like this seem to be becoming familiar in Metro Denver. This weekend, a 77-year-old man on a bike was hit and killed by the driver of an SUV. Police say the driver of that SUV drove away from the scene. The driver turned herself in this morning. Police are still working to figure out who was at fault. That 77-year-old man is now one of 116 people killed on the roads in the metro area this year, according to an analysis by the Denver Regional Council of Governments, or DRCOG.
So if you annualize that out, if that trend continues, it will be higher this year.
Jacob Rieger is a long-term transportation planner for DRCOG.
It reinforces the need to do what we're doing, which is, preparing this Regional Vision Zero plan and working with our local governments.
Vision Zero. You've heard that plenty of times before. The lofty goal of ending traffic deaths. Denver's had that plan for years, and in that time, they've actually watched traffic deaths increase.
It's more giving people the information, the tools, but incentivizing through federal and state funding that we allocate to our member governments, of encouraging this issue of safety.
But can you eliminate all deaths on the region's roadways? DRCOG's video promoting its Vision Zero included some serious skepticism from the public.
I would say sadly not.
No. Probably not.
But Rieger says Vision Zero is about more than the goal.
Even though it's hard to get to that zero number, the process of trying to get there does a lot of good along the way. And if we don't push ourselves to strive, then we know we're not going to get there.
So you may be asking yourselves, what authority does DRCOG have here? Don't cities and counties make these decisions? They're the one who build roads. Yes, they do. But Rieger says DRCOG can give them resources like data and, more importantly, funding to get this stuff done. And in fact, they're already in the process of analyzing these deaths that, they have the numbers, the 116.
Yeah.
They've looked at deaths. In previous years, they found about 1 in 4 are pedestrians and cyclists. So they're looking at this data to try to figure out best practices, because in the end, you're not going to have enough funding to fix every road. You've got to figure out where these things are happening and target those areas.
Yeah, and then DRCOG comes in with the carrot as opposed to the stick.
Yes.
One of my all-time favorite 9 News stories was the former reporter here who thought that the Denver Regional Council of Governments, DRCOG, was some kind of traffic scientist. Like, what's his first name? Like Mike, or is it Janine Cog? Who is it?
I called and asked for DRCOG.
Yeah, not there.
He wasn't answering.
Not there.
I must be on sabbatical or something.
All-time favorite 9 News stories. Thank you, Steve. My recommended read for today is one that you're going to want to spend some time with. Perhaps you heard people over the weekend talking about the New York Times landmark project 1619, as in the year 1619, 400 years ago, when slaves were first brought to what became America. The 1619 Project by the Times is an in-depth look at how slavery has shaped almost every aspect of American life to this day. The Times turned to a group of thought-provoking writers who argue that 1619 is America's true birth date. The Times 1619 Project is a series of essays exploring how so many of the things that have made America exceptional are things that are tied to the legacy of slavery. How the good of our country is intertwined with not just the bad, but the cruel and the unimaginable. The 1619 Project is drawing a lot of passionate reactions, a lot of support, a lot of criticism. I'm not recommending that you think this or think that. I'm just recommending that you read it. Decide for yourself what rings true with you. We have a link on the next Facebook page. Our next question comes from a viewer named Pat Thompson, who noticed that on this nearly 100-degree day, many of Denver's outdoor swimming pools are closed for the season. Pat asks, is there really such a law that requires that pools close when school starts? No law, Pat, but it is practice in Denver that dictates that the city's 16 outdoor pools tend to close when the school year starts. They also open when the school year ends in the spring. It's basically a practical consideration because of staffing. Denver Parks and Rec tells us the majority of their lifeguards are students. Now, a few select pools are going to stay open on weekends only through the Sunday before Labor Day. So this year, that's September 1st. Remaining open on weekends will be Berkeley Park, Cook Park, Harvard Gulch, Harvey Park, and Mestizo Curtis Park. Keep in mind, again, only on weekends. But that's a good thing to think about. This is a hot day. Pool would have been nice. Do you have a question? Send the next team in search of an answer for you. Email next@9news.com or get our attention with the hashtag HeyNext. Stapleton has a flock of flying air mattresses. The pronunciation of this lake has you asking, what do you say? And it's the first day back at one of Colorado's tiniest schools.
I was really interested in having a smaller community because in larger spaces I can get a bit more, stressed out.
We'll go to class in the corner of a bike shop next. All right, Broncos game's kicked off over on Channel 20. You can go. It's fine. It's fine. I will not hold it against you. Preseason action against the 49ers. But I told you, you'd get a heads up so you can go over to KTVD if you want to watch that game. I will miss you, but I won't hold it against you. If you do leave, though, you're going to miss Stapleton's flying mattresses. And it was quite the show Saturday evening as wind gusts sent dozens of air mattresses flipping near Yosemite. They were supposed to be there for this outdoor movie event called Bed Cinema. Yeah, that's kind of cool. You sit on the air mattress and you watch the movie. Watch out, everybody. The air mattresses are flying. Next viewer, Alana McCabe, recorded video with her phone. Witnesses said this went on for about 30 minutes or so, and a number of them landed in a swimming pool in Stapleton. Everybody was fine, so it's all in good fun.
A hot summer day in Denver. In spite of the afternoon cloud cover, 99 degrees today. That is a record. That was, 97 was set back in 1986. And if we had hit 100 today, that would have been the latest in the season that we would have seen that triple-digit high. 99 above average. We will be warm again with just limited moisture for thunderstorms tonight and tomorrow. We get a cool down midweek, and we also see a return of some stronger thunderstorms. Much of the action tomorrow will be extreme northeastern Colorado, Nebraska, and Kansas. So a couple of thunder showers down south tonight. Skies will clear, a little push of easterly winds coming in to Sterling, and then late in the day tomorrow, one or two thunderstorms that could linger into the evening, but not this evening. Warm, dry, partly cloudy and 64. Tomorrow, sunshine and 94. Slight chance of a late day storm tomorrow, a better chance of storms Wednesday, a cooler day, and then a warming trend. The weekend right now looks amazing, and so do the sunflowers, Kyle, out at DIA. Just ask Jossie Knight.
Thank you, Kathy. All right, let's play What Do You Say? This round features the name of a lake in Lafayette. It starts with a W. It's named after the family that first settled that area back in 1860. And next viewers Trent and Gail asked if we could settle how to pronounce it. So we reached out to the Lafayette Miners Museum to ask, what do you say?
The correct way to pronounce it is Wanaka. The name Wanaka comes from a German immigrant family the first person who got here by the name Adolf Wanaka. And it's also believed that before he owned any property on the lake in 1865, Adolf was the one who built the dam that created Wanaka Lakes.
Wanaka Lake. So before you had the man-made reservoir, there was a smaller 1-acre lake there prior to the 70s. And that was Plant Lake. They called it Plant Lake because there was a power plant nearby. All right, where to next? Email suggestions to next@9news.com or give us a shout with the hashtag HeyNext. Life on four wheels, just two at a time. It's the most Colorado thing we saw today. A tiny school calls kids back to class just to send them back out again.
When we're learning something, like here, you can be like, you could feel exactly how you would use that in real life.
See, it's learning disguised as real life. And it's next. The most Colorado thing we saw today is rides on rides. When you just want to get on your motorcycle and head to the hills in order to go mountain biking. Next viewer Ashley Houchin snapped this photo yesterday, headed west on I-70. Yeah, I'd say that is a Colorado adventure in progress and also waiting to happen. Send your most Colorado photos to next@9news.com or use our HeyNext hashtag. One of the most intimidating things about going back to school can be size. You know, bigger school, bigger classmates, bigger assignments. For 7th and 8th graders at Embark Education, they use smaller size to their advantage. Our Byron Reed has the story.
I'm a horseback rider.
Getting to know your classmates on the first day of school is fun for 8th grader Delaney Nichols.
It's really nice to be able to get to know the people that you're going to spend the rest of the year with. I was really interested in having a smaller community because in larger spaces I can get a bit more, stressed out and stuff.
So that's the question.
Nichols is a middle schooler at Embark Education.
We have 13 students.
An independent micro school for 7th and 8th graders that integrates math, English, science, and history with real-world experiences.
Oftentimes micro schools are seen as like a throwback to the one-room schoolhouse. Our students are able to, take simple like math concepts or something they might learn in humanities and actually apply it to the operations of our businesses and really see it to fruition.
Businesses like Framework Cycles and Pinwheel Coffee.
We have a list of the burritos we have over here.
Where these students will spend 2 shifts a week learning lessons hands-on.
As our students are investigating Latin America, they might be looking at the growing seasons for our coffee beans. We'll actually buy the coffee beans here in the shop and then sell them to the community.
And I also really like the idea of my individual learning and realizing the responsibilities of creating my own schedule.
It's different than other schools, and it's a tight community, and it feels like everyone here just wants to be your friend.
All about business.
So students like Nichols can meet new faces and think about what's next on her first day of class.
I really like it because it's kind of teaching you something that you will use in the future, and it kind of gets me a kick start and things.
For Next, I'm Byron Reed.
Embark Education is in its first year. They say they chose to focus on middle schoolers because that's a time when kids are developing and learning, yet they're old enough to make an impact in the community. We return with an unusual thank you and your feedback, which I miss dearly. Next. Okay, now I love that commercial. It's a sign that thanks you in an adorably awkward way. Thank you for your inconvenience, it reads at the bottom. This is a restaurant near DU that is closed on summer Saturdays, but wanting to be polite about it, they thank their customers for their inconvenience. Gail Plumber Davis took the photo. She knew what they meant. We do too, and come on, that makes you smile. Your feedback always does the same for me. Nancy wonders, Kyle loved the show, wondering tonight back from vacation which time zone your wristwatch will be set to. You guys get me every single time on this, and sure enough, Grandpa's watch is set to Eastern time because that's where Grandma lives, and I was visiting her last week. It's actually kind of a cool memento of the trip. Although somebody mentioned, what was it, the souvenir facial fuzz? No?